Welcome to another edition of The Stretcher. It's another edition in this series of palm stretches, finger stretches, hand stretches that not only work on assisting with arthritis, pain, discomfort, dullness, achiness, mobility of the hands, of the wrists, of the shoulder. And we're going to really focus, again, it's the palm 4. So we're going to be utilizing the palm mostly for all these exercises today, including some fingers, including some of the wrist. But that is all connected, again, remind it that everything in this wrist region, in the finger region, in the hand region is connected to the shoulder joint, that glenohumeral joint, that ball and socket joint, that very dynamic joint that actually impacts everyday movement. And in this journey called life, that's where we get a lot of our fatigue and a lot of our discomfort and the lack of range of motion and the tightness on that anterior part of the shoulder. And then the hands get overutilized throughout our days, if it's text messaging, if it's on the remote control, if it's playing video games, if it's just, I don't know, flipping somebody the bird, which hopefully you're not doing that when you get some road rage and you're just driving calmly like I am, pull over to the side of the road and about to take you through this nice peaceful episode. And if you don't know who I am yet, I am your host, Jesse Sawyer, nationally recognized inclusive fitness trainer, Silver Sneaker Flex instructor, and you can find out more about me by visiting my website at www.jessesawyer.com. Now, Functified Maniacs worldwide and across the globe, Silver Sneaker members, new members, YouTube subscribers, and those Facebook Live streamers, there are a few things we need to go over before we get started. Again, I am in my vehicle, so wherever you're at, make sure you find a comfortable location, wherever it may be. Make sure you're not driving, pull over the side of the road, just like I am, or just sit on the edge of a chair and get prepared. But there's 5 things. If you have any lightheadedness, pain, dizziness, discomfort, or fatigue, again, hit the pause button, come back a little bit later. The other thing we need to go over is the virtual 5. You should always consult with a physician before engaging in any physical activity program. By participating in this online exercise with me, you assume all dangers, hazards, risks of such participation. Exercise is demonstrated by the instructor. And this online class can be demanding. If you're unable to safely perform these exercises, please modify them or choose a different set of exercises. Now, again, they are hand-type stretches. They are wrist-type stretches. They are finger-type stretches to assist with dullness, achiness, discomfort, any form of arthritis that you might have, or just trying to get the blood flowing, the oxygen pumping to that region so that cartilage can, one, stay healthy and remove some of that discomfort that you might have on a regular basis. And it all starts in the hand because that shoulder really impacts how we create mobility in that hand. The other thing you want to make sure of is number 2. I can't see you, I can't hear you, so pay attention to the form, pay attention to your mechanics, make sure you're trying to mirror me throughout. Again, I am in my vehicle, I am in a seated position, so it can be difficult at times to see my hand actually doing those movements, so I do apologize in advance, as I will do my best to walk you through and talk you through each and every motion. But as you're doing that, if you are, find a seat, find a comfortable position, sit up on the edge of that chair, tuck the belly, tuck the tailbone, chest is out, shoulders up, back and down, and those ears are over your shoulders, and you're creating a nice elongated neutral position, which your toes over the knees, knees over the hips, hips over the shoulders, and again, ears over their shoulders as well with that nice elongation, and relaxing those shoulders, okay, so those elbows want to really rest into the rib cage throughout these motions, unless I dictate otherwise and tell you to change that maneuver up. You want to really rest those shoulders and really work on the wrist, fingers, and palm region. The other thing is just enjoy the journey, continue to improve each and every week, and do not just do this one time a week. You want to add this to your weekly routine, maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, just to try to create greater flexibility, greater mobility, greater extension, greater flexion in that region where you might be feeling that discomfort or pain. Again, because it going to directly go back to that shoulder, and then you're going to have more difficulty down the road. Number 3, breathe. Number 4, pay attention to rate of perceived exertion. In this episode, it's a 1 through 3. 3 being your high, 1 being your low, 2 being kind of like, hey, right in the middle, you're feeling good, you're breathing well, your heart rate's not up, you're able to stretch those fingers, stretch that palm, stretch that wrist, and you don't have any discomfort. If you get to that 3, that means you have some discomfort, heart rate's going up, the dull achiness is getting worse, and so you want to take it back down a notch with how far you're doing some of this pushing and shoving and pulling of the different movements we're going to be doing today. And then number 5, you want to make sure you hydrate. I did bring a big one now. It's color changing, okay? So someone the other day thought I had something special in my drink because it was purple, and I was trying to explain to them that no, it changes color when it's cold. So it's just water, my friends. It's just water. Although, as early as I get up in the morning, some people might be thinking that I'm drinking something else because I'm always active and I'm always moving. Again, enjoy this episode. We want to get started. We want to get moving again. Sit on the edge of that chair. It's the palm 4, and we're going to start off with just regular palm stretches. So there's regular palm stretches are just elbows really into that rib cage, and you're just kind of bringing those hands in right here, right in front of that face this time, not here. You can keep them here, but I'm going to bring them up to the face, and I'm just going to push them together like this. So as I push them together this time with this palm stretch, again, you're not being able to see my face, so hopefully you can hear me. You're trying to drive those elbows in too. So you see how I kind of just close that gap right here? So I'm not keeping them wide. I'm really just trying to close that gap, and I'm squeezing not only the palms and those fingers together, but I'm also trying to squeeze those elbows together as well. And I'm trying to hold this again for a static stretch. That static stretch being, about 20 seconds in length. And again, just squeezing and squeezing. Now, if that's too much for you and you're feeling too much maybe on the external outside part of the shoulder, that rear part of the delt, maybe that side lateral, then just drive those elbows down and then just keep them here in that prayer mode and squeeze them together right here. You can do that, but the higher you come up, the more you can drive those elbows in like that. You see them going in, and you're going to get a better squeeze, not only with the chest, but you're going to activate that anterior part of the shoulder, and you're going to get a nice palm stretch as well. So from this motion, we want to try to just flare them up. You see how I kind of flare my shoulders up, and my palms are still staying in my face, and you can see my eyes, right? It looks a little funny, but hey. And then you're just driving them back, right? Drive them close, and then just drive them this way like this, right? So keeping, again, those hands right in front of that face, I am flaring my shoulders up and out now. You can flare them up and out this way as well, keeping your palms down. So again, the modification would be just keep your elbows really close to the rib cage, squeeze here for that initial exercise, and then just flare them up, which you're going to see there comes a little bit of a gap in that palm, because as they flare, a gap comes. Or you can keep them up tall, squeeze them internally, and then flare them up like this, where they're flaring up to the side, and you're really just trying to take those elbows as high as you can. Working on the shoulders, because you start engaging the shoulders, but you're still creating that palm stretch, and you're just trying to work on range of motion and alleviate some of the pain that might be caused when you start doing range of motion exercises or trying to work on a full extension of the shoulders and still work on those palms at the same time. So everything is connected, and we want to try to really, again, squeeze here, drive those elbows in, and then flare them out. Still maintaining that palm stretch. So again, it's internally, flare, squeeze, flare them out. Close that flare, and when I say flare, you're squeezing those elbows together, squeezing those palms, and then pushing up with them as well. And you want to try to do that maybe 3 times, 20 seconds to 2 minutes in length. 2 minutes is the most that you want to do this type of stretch. Next stretch we want to do, elbows again tight to that rib cage. We're going to bring those palms a little bit lower now so that you can see my hands kind of interacting with each other. And I'm just going to push over. So I'm taking that left hand and I'm pushing over, and I'm creating an angle. right? Pushing on that wrist, pushing on that palm, and then back up. Relaxing, and breathing at the same time, creating some continuity, pushing down. And the goal really is to get that right side so that it becomes a pancake and it flattens out. So that's my third time through, and they're really a little more active right now with the stretch I'm doing. I'm not really doing a passive type of stretch because I'm moving through the motion. And it is almost flat, and I want to come back up, and I want to go to the other side. So we're going to go to the other side. So I'm going to push my right into the left, a little active, come back to the center. I'm still in that prayer mode, and I'm pushing again. And again, I'm still trying to flatten out that left side now, and I can feel some discomfort on the outside of that wrist. Not the right one, but on the left one as I get close to really flattening out with this fourth exercise right here. So that first exercise we did was really a palm type stretch, the praying position. We slowly spread those elbows, and then we slowly brought those elbows back in. Now we're doing a palm stretch where we're trying to create an angle, and we're trying to take that incline, and we're trying to really flatten out that incline and really work on the back side of that wrist while pushing and creating flexion and extension, which creates that mobility and loosens up and gets that blood flowing into the cartilage, not only just to the wrist, but through the palm as well. So you get a little activation. Hopefully you don't have any numbness, no dullness, no achiness. And then the next exercise we're going to go to is we're just going to go to a fist squeeze, okay? So we're just going to take those fists. I'm going to put them right in front of me, right here. I'll do the left side, right, and then I'm going to squeeze those fists. But in this fist squeeze, I'm going to lift that thumb up. So that thumb is going to be up, okay? Straight up in the air. So if you see it, I'm trying to keep it straight up in the air. And I'm going to do a push and pull on the thumb. So again, you can rest that elbow. I'm resting it on my console. You can rest it on your thigh. You can rest it right on your rib. But the real goal of this one is you want to push or pull. So I'm pulling it to me, right? I'm going to pull that thumb back towards myself, but I want to make sure that I cannot move it. So I'm not trying to move that thumb towards me. So as I pull, right, I'm trying to just keep it nice and stationary. And I'm almost pushing back against that finger and that pull. And I'm going to feel that discomfort, or I'm going to feel the activation on the back side of it as I pull back and I try to push forward with the thumb. So I'm pulling back and I'm pushing forward with that thumb. On this hand too, on that left side. So I'll show you from this angle as I try to pull back on it, and I'm pushing forward. And I'm not allowing it to move back. Now, if I was allowing it to move back, what you would see is you'd see that thumb just keep going back and that hand go back as well. So you want to try to keep that hand in a nice fixed stationary position. So you have your push and you have your pull. This is me pulling back on the thumb while pushing forward on that thumb. I'm pushing, in my mind, forward so that it cannot move backwards. And then the other direction we want to work on, again, and this really helps with thumbs, shake that thumb off a little bit, is you're going to go the opposite direction now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push back on that thumb, right, that is coming towards me, and I'm going to push forward. So I'm trying to push forward on that thumb and not allow it to move forward. Look at that. I'm trying to really push, and it's moving forward. So I'm probably pushing a little too hard. And again, I want to try to really keep it so it doesn't move. So I'm pushing forward, and I'm really trying to drive that thumb backwards so that that thumb does not go into the fist like this. I do not want this thumb to drop down into this fist. So see what I'm doing? I'm pulling, I'm pushing, I'm pulling and pushing. Whichever direction you want to think about it, it's two different directions. One, pulling back. Two, you're pushing forward and you're not allowing that thumb to move. There are two different exercises that can really help with the wrist, with the palm, with arthritic type conditions. And again, this is just a thumb type workout, which again impacts the wrist, impacts the shoulders, and impacts your daily activities, and it's just going to allow you to become more independent throughout your days. And if you do it on the left side, you want to do the same thing on that right side. See how I push for it? I don't want to let it go. I don't want it to go, right? I want to kind of keep it straight up and down. Don't let it close out. Keep it straight up. Don't let it, right? And you want to do that on both sides. So again, it's not just a unilateral exercise. It's a bilateral exercise. Unfortunately, you can't do both at the same time. You got to separate them and do them that way. And then for our last exercise, we're going to do, because we've done a little bit of the fingers there, just with that thumb, more importantly, focus on that wrist, and we did the palms and the hands. We want to do the wrist and the hands together to finish this last palm exercise routine. But before I get there, I got to get hydrate. Should be the commercial break. It's color changing drink. It didn't change color yet. But I'm warming up in here, and hopefully you're warming up as well, and hopefully you're enjoying this episode. And again, just add these exercises into your routine as we replay them in a second. The next exercise we want to do is we want to do a figure 8. So the figure 8 is just interlocking those hands in that prayer mode, right? You're coming your hands together in that prayer mode, and then we're just going to figure 8 as I figure 8 those wrists through a figure 8 motion. You see kind of what I'm doing, and I'm just really working those wrists. And hopefully you can see I'm diving down and creating that figure 8 with those wrists. And I'm using those hands too, and those palms are together, and those fingers are interlocked. So I'm using everything, and those shoulders, as you can see, the shoulders kind of go up and down a little bit, but I'm not going much higher than that shoulder complex, as I'm trying to keep those elbows nice and tight to that rib cage, and I'm just creating that figure 8 in front of me. So as you create that figure 8, you can always go backwards with that figure 8, reverse that direction, and make that mind get a little more robust in that prefrontal cortex as you can follow along. So another good exercise for those wrists, creating greater mobility in the shoulder region, and it allows to get that blood flowing. So if you do any type of lifting, if you're having some arthritic pain, some carpal tunnel pain, another good exercise just to prepare yourself. I mean, you can always swing the bat back and forth. That's for another day, and that's for another episode. And this was the stretcher 4. To recap what we did: praying position, hands together. We've done it before in one of our earlier palm stretches. The only difference is you're going to start a little higher. You're going to try to drive those elbows in internally, and then externally pull them up. Modification is just keep them right here. Try to drive those elbows into the rib cage, and then flare them up right through here where the hands don't come up as high. The higher they come, the more the shoulder complex you're utilizing, the more the scapula you're getting involved as well. The next one we did was that fist squeeze with that thumb, where you're going to be pushing or pulling. You're trying to keep that thumb in an elongated position. Either way, both sides. You can't do one at a time because you need the other hand to get activated in it. And then the last one was the wrist and hand type stretch, as we did the figure 8, and we also got those palms involved. So that's the recap. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you put these exercises to use wherever you're at, wherever you're going. May that journey always have a light, and may that light always be a lamp to your feet and a light to your path. Peace, my friends. Jesse Swear is out. Boom. Palm 4.